position of power, authority, a lot of times you have the opportunity to reflect. So one powerful figure talking to another powerful figure is recapping basically how he perceives himself. That's why the blessing that I like with Paul is Paul always recognized in himself where he was in terms of physical placement in the world and spiritual placement. And that's what's wrong. One of the things that's wrong with us, because people don't think that they're that bad. And when you don't think you're that bad, it affects how you pray. It affects how you worship, because in the back of your mind, you're really thinking, I don't really need all that. When you think you're healthy and you go to your normal physician for a physical checkup, your thought of saying I'm already healthy affects what you tell the doctor. I don't remember to say my knee hurt or this hurt, because I'm not hurting. I feel fine. But if you go to the doctor realizing and you kept a tally of everything that went wrong, you told the doctor that maybe they run some tests and who knows what the outcome. But when you go, and it's not because you have to go to the doctor, but because it's a normal checkup, your mindset is different, right? It's a difference than coming to worship, just a normal worship, or you did something last week and you trying to get here and say, oh God, forgive me, because I don't want to leave the hotel, get hit by a truck, and then I got to face you with whatever happened. It's a totally different mindset. But the problem with us as Christians are we have the mindset that it's not that bad. Even when we apologize, it's always, well, I mean, it's not like that's not an apology. So nobody, if you hit me, not like I hit you twice, but I just want the apology for the hitting once. I don't want to go in what would have happened if you hit me twice. That's how we interact with one another, because we make it seem like it's not that bad, right? It could always be worse. But if you look at Jacob's life, all the positive things we understand, but his own life and his family's life could have even been better physically if he didn't make some of the bad choices he made, right? And when we look at people in the Bible, we should not only be looking at the positive, but how could we learn from the bad choices they made? Parents should be looking at how Jacob was as a father, right? As a husband. We talked about the disconnect between him and his two wives and how he loved one more than the other, and favoritism towards children and all these things that he created based on how he reacted to certain things in his life. So that's kind of where we were last week. Okay, good. Now let's move on to question number 9. If we could have someone read Genesis 47 verses 13 through 26.
Now there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very severe, so that the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan languished because of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the grain which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into the Pharaoh's house. So when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in your presence? For the money has failed. Then Joseph said, give your livestock, and I will give you bread for your livestock, if the money is gone. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for the horses, the flocks, the cattle of the herds, and for the donkeys. Thus he fed them with bread in exchange for all their livestock that year. When that year had ended, they came to him the next year and said to him, we will not hide from my lord that our money is gone. My lord also has our herds of livestock. There is nothing left in the sight of our lord but our bodies and our lands. Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants of Pharaoh. Give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land may not be desolate. Then Joseph brought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for every man of the Egyptians sold his field, because the famine was severe upon them. So the land became Pharaoh's. Keep going.
Yeah, go to 26.
Okay. And as for the people, he moved them into the cities, from one end of the borders of Egypt to the other end. Only the land of the priests he did not buy, for For the priests had rations allotted to them by Pharaoh, and they ate their rations which Pharaoh gave them. Therefore they did not sell their lands. Then Joseph said to the people, indeed, I have bought you and your land this day for Pharaoh. Look, here is seed for you, and you shall sow it, then you shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the harvest that you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh, 4/5 shall be your own, as seed for the field and for your food, for those of you of your household, and as food for your little ones. So they said, you have saved our lives. Let us find favor in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt to this day that Pharaoh should have 1/5, except for the land of the priests only, which did not become Pharaoh's. Okay, thank you, sir. Now, the question is, question 9, how did all the land and even the people come to belong to Pharaoh? So go back to the beginning of what Brother Aaron just read. How did the land and the people become to belong to Pharaoh? What happened here? Okay, because of the famine, right? So people, what happened before the famine started? Let's go back to 7 years of good times, right? Pharaoh had a dream. Joseph interpreted that dream and said there'll be 7 good times and 7 bad times. So God's suggestion to them was to do what during the 7 years of good time? To store up, to save. People don't like saving. You know, you don't like saving either, because you don't want to think about saving for 60 when you're 30. Because see, maybe I don't live. I'd rather have shoes now or go on vacation now. So how hard would it have been to force an entire country to save? But they did it because Pharaoh trusted Joseph, and they seen the success that Joseph had, right? Mm-hmm. Now we're a year into the famine. The first wave of people come to Joseph and say what? But they come to Joseph. Why? Why they don't go to Pharaoh? Why are they coming to Joseph? Joseph in charge of everything financial, right? He's the main guy. Pharaoh said, whatever he say do, we gonna do, right? He even renamed him to make a representation that God talks to this guy. So do whatever he says do, even if it's give up your own kid to get some grain, whatever he says, do it, right? First wave of people come to Joseph and say what? What do they tell him? Hey, we have no more money, right? So, I mean, what can we do? We don't have money, and we're gonna die if we don't eat. Right. So what do they have that now they don't have money, but what's the first thing that they have that they're willing to barter for this grain? Livestock. Hey, livestock. What good is it to me to have a sheep, a goat, a cow, a pig, any of these things if I can't feed my family? Right. So they trade off the livestock for the grain. Then the next year, what happens? People come back. Hey, I'm still hungry. That grain that you gave us, that was 2014. My kids ate that already, digested that already, but it's 2015 and now we need some food. So we don't have any more money. We don't have any more livestock, but what do they have? Themselves in their real estate, right? So they said, hey, what good is it for me to have all this land, but my family dies? So they offer to give up their land in order to have some food, right? Which Joseph gladly takes and Pharaoh gladly takes. And what is that doing in terms of Pharaoh's power? Because this is a monarchy, a kingdom, right? So now he have more, let's go back to the 7 years, more grain than he had, right? More money than he had, because people blew all their money buying the grain. More livestock that he had, right? If you just have some 2 livestock, if they have babies, you can eat off of the parents, right? So now just imagine if you just start getting an influx of all this livestock and way more real estate, right? So now put your mind, we touched on this last week, now zoom 400 years from now, right? When the Israelite people become enslaved, because there's pharaohs after pharaohs after pharaohs since then, but Joseph changed the financial status of Egypt, right? Egypt was a world power at that time on some scale, but because of this famine and this saving and the way that Joseph established this bartering system, Egypt's
financial power grew very quickly, right? So that even after the famine was over and people went back to their living their life, is much like this country in this recession. Not like you got your job back. Your job didn't call you, say, hey, remember we fired you 2008? Hey, sorry about that. 2010, why don't you come back? So he still kept all that financial power and stability. So Joseph played an intricate part into the success of Egypt's physical well-being. So that is a very interesting contrast when you get 400 years. And Moses said, God said, let his people go. Well, God who? Well, remember, God was the reason why you guys have me. Remember Joseph? We don't remember Joseph because so much time had gone by. The relationship that Pharaoh and Joseph had, maybe Pharaoh's son had with Joseph's kids, and maybe grandkids, that's long gone, long gone. 400 years, people forgot that already, right? People went back to human nature, which is divisive, right? Egyptians believed Egyptians and Hebrews believed Hebrews, and there was no more of a connection because Pharaoh established this connection because of Joseph, right? So just remember that as we go into the future, that if it wasn't for God's working through Joseph, Egypt's financial stability, when they get to all the things Moses was trying to get that Pharaoh to understand and do, wouldn't even have been there. So that's a that's an interesting contrast. Okay, what about question 10? In contrasting the remarkable way in which the Israelites were provided for when the lowest state to which even the Egyptians were reduced, how does the expression blessing in disguise apply to the life of Jacob? How does the expression blessing in disguise? Let's go back to last week. What occupation does Joseph's brothers have? Shepherd. They came with their resume, right? It said shepherd. In the land of Egypt, forget about where you came from. That's what's wrong. People come to America. Oh, I was a king there. No. You got to clean the toilet here. No, I was king where I came from. Yeah, but nobody cares. Where they came from, shepherd was a big deal. Now they're in Egypt. If they were out, if the young men was out somewhere and they told one of the Egyptian women, hey, shepherd, would she tell her dad, hey, my boyfriend have a good job or a bad job? What? Bad. They thought that a shepherd was a what? The scum, disgusting. Because shepherds have to do what? Where do shepherds sleep? So the girl said, why would you? We're going to sleep. We got to be with the nasty animals, right? So that's their mindset of a shepherd was a bad job, right? It was detestable, the Bible said to the Egyptians. So Joseph warned his brothers in advance, hey, this guy comes over here. You got to be honest because they hate shepherds here. Me, I'm not a shepherd. You sold me into slavery, so I'm not a shepherd. I'm actually number 2 in command. So shame on you. I don't got to live somewhere else. But you guys, he going to put somewhere else. So let's think ahead. Joseph give them what land? It starts with a G. Goshen, right? You tell him in advance that you're a shepherd. We'll establish this Goshen situation and you'll go off to the side. Pharaoh comes in. Pharaoh says, okay. But Pharaoh was excited and said to them, you find out whoever has the best skill and they're over all of our livestock. So they're off in this land of Goshen, right? The land of Goshen was supposed to be land that no one really wanted. Now go back to what Aaron was reading. The group of these new people are in a land no one wants. No one can bother them. Remember, Pharaoh said, nobody touching these people, right? Whoever is connected to Joseph's bloodline, nobody touching them, right? Because of the relationship that I have as king with Joseph. And they're in a land that nobody wants. So they're off to the side. Aaron said that first the people who were in the main part of the country had to give up their money. Then he read that they had to give up their livestock. Then he read they have to give up their land. But what about the Israelite people? Nobody want their livestock. Nobody definitely want their land. And nobody even want to deal with them because when Joseph's brothers came, the Egyptians made them eat away from Joseph because you people are dirty. You can't eat with us. I mean, we'll feed you, but you're not going to eat with us. So there already a distinction. So the question is, how can the expression blessing in disguise be applied to Jacob's life? What do you think? How can the expression of blessing in disguise be applied to Jacob's life?
They had the land for themselves.
Okay.
And nobody to buy the land and stuff. Even though all the people had to give up their land, things like that.
Mm-hmm. So they didn't have to give up their land. No one bothered them. Okay, good point. Anybody else?
And the livestock.
Yeah, the livestock. Remember that they're not only in charge of their livestock, but they're in charge of whose livestock? Pharaoh's, right? And how is Pharaoh's livestock growing or reducing? Growing. So who has job security here? Them, right? They have a good job. Before they had bad jobs, but now they have job security because what's happening to their job? They need more workers because there's more work, right? That's the transition. Anybody else? How could Jacob's situation be a blessing in disguise? How could Jacob's situation be a blessing in disguise? What do you think?
Joseph was his son. He would always take care of his father.
Mm-hmm.
Of his brethren.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So even so, it have famine or what, he will make sure they have food and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference when you know that, hey, my son's in charge. What's your son do? Oh, my son is begging your son. Oh, okay. So you sleep good at night or you be fearful? If you're Jacob, do you go to sleep okay or you worry about finances? Hey, I wonder if we're going to have something. No, your son is second in command. Anything happen to him, Pharaoh probably kill half the country. So we don't have to worry. We have a relative in a position of power. We have our own land that nobody wanted at first. All of our occupation is job security because we're shepherds, and this guy's livestock is growing by leaps and bounds day after day after day. A lot of times when we live our life and we ask for things and God says, well, no, not that thing, but I'll give you something else. We do what? Complain. I didn't want that stupid thing. I wanted this thing. If I would have wanted that, I would have asked for that. Right? That's what kids do. Hey, here's it. What is this? The present. I don't want this. I told you everyone at school have this thing. Red. You bought blue. Now kids gonna say, why you have blue? We all have red. What am I gonna say? Hey, my mom colorblind. No, but this just as good. Kids don't care, right? Some kids open so excited, they start crying. Hey, why are you crying? This is a bad gift. That's how we feel, right? We feel that God is punishing us. Hey, what? Man, why you gotta do that? But what happened to what may have looked at as, a bad thing turned into a positive thing because the whole structure of themselves as a family, maybe for a couple of the years was down here. But because of the course of events, their status would be here. So much so that 400 years, they were becoming so successful that when it gets to the days of Moses, the Pharaoh family said, we have to enslave these people because they're going to be Egyptians. They're more successful than us. They have more children than us. They're God blessing them more than us. And it got to that point, right? And we go all the way back to God's relationship with Joseph. Everyone's seen that, right? Every situation that Joseph was in, Joseph was being successful and the people that were attached to him were being successful. When we ask for things, right? We know God answers all prayers. I know we say all the time, well, God answered my prayer. Well, God going to answer your prayer. He's going to say no sometimes, or maybe that's the answer. That's not the answer that we want to hear, right? He may say later, next year, 2016, not 2015. But when he doesn't answer a direct yes, hey, I asked for this make and model of this car. This one, I don't want another one, only this one. And he say, oh, I'm going to give you this one instead. Then we get upset. But look at what happened in this family's life because of the course of events of one young man. One young man, right? You never know what God has in store for you, right? Life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We live our life too concerned with trying to plan for things that we have no control over, right? That's why the Bible said, just worry about today. You got enough problems today, the 31st, than to be worrying about June 1st. Get through the 31st. But we do that. We plan and we think of all these things, and it affects how we live our today because we're too busy either lamenting over yesterday or worrying about tomorrow, right? These people had to accept whatever was given to them, right? They were not in a position to barter and say, oh, hey, sorry, really appreciate Goshen. Sounds like a good name, but we came in that way. It's not, we are from the nice place, and this is kind of a dirty little place. Could we have another place instead? Sometimes we do that. We'll be in need, and somebody give us something, and we say, hamburger, okay, I guess, but I really eat steak. So, if you really was going to give me a blessing and you invited me over, you should have asked me what I like to eat. The person say, oh, but we only have hamburger. I'm going to eat it, but see, we do those things sometimes even audibly, sometimes in joking form, but we don't accept the blessings as given to us. But we never know really how that small blessing in our eyes could turn out to be the greatest blessing, right? Look at Jacob's life and his 2 wives, right? He was so concerned with this one wife and paid no attention, love, or affection to the other life. The Bible said he hated her. And who did he have more children with? Which wife? The one he loved or didn't love? The one he didn't love. See, God will use the lesser thing a lot of times in our life to make the biggest profound impact. So that's a good point. Sister Gloria, did you have something?
Ellis, when you come and you look, the dream was still there in
Yes,
everything.
yes.
So in the back, I get the father will always think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
the dream was always there. Let's go back to the dream, because that's a good point. What was Joseph's dream? He had 2. What was the first dream? What was Joseph's dream? Let's remind ourselves, because the dream is what's powering this, right? He would never have been in Egypt if he didn't verbalize his dream. But what was Joseph's dream? That his family will have to bow down to him. Did he say, hey, you guys have to bow down? He just said, I had a dream. Martin Luther King. I don't know, it's a dream I had. I never said anything. And because of that, he ended up where he was. Now we talked about last week of Jacob as a father, right? Thinking about that dream. And how many successful people, parents say, this is stupid. You need to do this. I know better. And the kids say, no, I'm going to go do something else. Kid come back billionaire. What does the mother say? Oh, I always knew my baby was, no, you did not. Because you said your baby should go be garbage man or this thing or that. And this guy is billionaire. Well, you knew that. You never supported him. So now Jacob, we talked about last week, recapping that. Think just as a family. Parents, that's always the case. You would think bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. Wait a minute, maybe my kid got something going on here. And then turn around, end up successful. You're proud, but you go back to the remembering, right? You remember. You know how many people singing on stage right now? Parents say, why you don't go get a job? But this is a job. No, it's not. You're never going to make it. You remember that when you're watching your baby on the stage. Oh, I remember I told my own kid he's never going to make it. So think about the trust that Jacob would have in Joseph after the fact, right? But that would power, like Gloria is saying, this whole situation as a family, because they will trust Joseph to this point, regardless of whatever happens. And they're seeing the blessings from that. The relationship that Joseph had with God, remember we said without his family, without any instructions, there's no law, there's no Bible, just inside of him knowing right and wrong and trying to do right is going to change his whole family's spiritual well-being, and it changed their physical well-being, right? That's the power that one person has. Too often we'll say, I'm the only person in my family that is a Christian. Kids say that. They go to camp, go to youth rally. Nobody else is believing in what I'm believing, and they're discouraged, right? But Joseph changed. 60-something people came, right? We know that from the last chapter, but going to change a whole nation of people's focus because of who he was and how he lived his life. That's why parenting, especially up to grandparenting, is so important, because you have to set an example. Too often with our last names, we don't set examples. New wave of parenting is, well, the kid gonna learn or gonna do whatever they want to do. To me, I don't understand. If you parent that way, I don't understand how you parent. I'm gonna be honest with you, because a kid need an example. I say that all the time. If you leave it up to me to wash dishes, I am never gonna wash a dish. Not one dish. I will never wash a dish because I don't like washing dishes. Somebody gonna have to make me wash dishes. See, kids and parent is a struggle of power in the house, right? Because kids feel after a while, then I'm smarter than you. Once kids get to high school and learn a couple of principles they remember in school, they think they're smarter than you. If you let your kid do whatever he want to do or she want to do and chalk it up as, oh, they're just going to grow out of it. No, they're not. They're going to become bad adults. Then they're going to affect somebody else's life because you didn't parent them correctly. Kids need guidance, instructions. Family need role models. They need somebody doing the right thing where they can say, oh, my aunt lives this way. My uncle lives this way. My cousin lives this way. They don't live like us. And they seem happy. Every time we go over a cookout, those people seem happy. We need to change the way we're living so we can live like them. Your family think about those things. I understand when they come over to cookout, they make fun of you, go to church and all, but they notice it's a difference in how you're blessed and how they're blessed. They either do one of two things. Either they get jealous, which is what most of your last name going to do, or they say, hey, can you pray for me? That's the window of opportunity because they're recognizing a difference between how life is treating them and how life is treating you. That's what Joseph did. One person, thousands of miles away, doing the right thing. If we can get our minds and our hearts attached to doing the right thing, even when it looks like no one is congratulating us, even when it looks like we're not being blessed, God's will still be done and you'll come out victorious. But when you take your hand off the plow, if Joseph took his hand off the plow in jail, he never would have had an impressive resume. The boy was in jail for something he didn't do. He could have said, oh, God's not for me, so forget it. But he kept the course. That's why I say there's so many good examples of how to live in a family structure in Jacob's and Joseph's life that we do it a disservice only teaching kids about a Technicolor coat or this or that, right? His coat and all them colors is irrelevant. The way that he lived his life without any support, any reference. You have a Bible. What Bible did he have? What law did he have? What email or phone could he pick up? He was by himself. And because he lived a certain way and people seen him after so many years still living that way, they were encouraged, right? They were encouraged. People know you from a previous way you were. They see you 10, 20 years later and you're totally different. Wow. Because I'm the same. You different. I still do it. Same thing you see me last doing, we were doing together, I'm still doing. You say, well, no, I'm not really doing that. I got a family now or this and a job. And people say, oh, man, I'm still running these streets. I mean, we grown now. And they think going back, man, how come life dealt me this hand, but they dealt this other person a different hand, right? That's the power that we have, especially in our families, because too often we're downtrodden, especially at the end of the year and holiday time, because it's hard dealing with non-Christian family because they gang up on you. Because especially if the event is at their house, because now they're gonna wait for you. They've been waiting for you. Somebody gonna make some joke about church or something, and then someone gonna laugh, and they're gonna keep going on and on and on. But where's their marriage? Where's their finances? Why are their kids bouncing off the wall? Where's their level of depression? Those are the facts, right? You know your last name. You know those things are there. And who can free them of that? Not them, but they don't believe. Sometimes people don't believe, not because of what they read or didn't read, because they're never going to read this, but because of the way we don't fully buy into this. We have to make sure that we live a way in our decision making that's different, so people in our own family first and foremost can say, this person is nothing like us in decision making. We make decisions like this, and this other person make decisions like this way. What is that way? He keep talking about something God related. We just making decisions that's what's best for our family in the now. And when you do that, you may think, oh, that's just a little thing. I've been doing that 10 years, 20 years at Thanksgivings and Christmas and nobody noticed. You don't know how that consistency is chipping away at the heart of your relatives, where someday someone will say, you know what? I know you 30 Christmases you've been saying this. Let me go to church. And you're shocked. what you talking about, church? Yeah, because I've been listening and listening. Now I want to go. There's a lot of people in the brotherhood that way. Tell you, hey, my sister, this person, my relatives have been trying to get me to come to church 30 years, 20 years. I never cared. And then all of a sudden, I finally bought into it. I applied to my life, not because of a sermon, not because of the Bible, because people don't read the Bible, but because my sister or my brother or my this or that, they kept after me. So I finally said, let me see. And I started to notice some success that was in their life that wasn't in my life. I put one and one together, came to a conclusion, and I walked in the door. And then that's it. God did the rest. That's the blessing that we have. We can look at this young man's life, not only physical, right? Because physically, of course, his family's life was saved. The legacy was established. And then we get all the way to Jesus, right? But spiritually, their family was different. When he last seen his brothers, they sold him to slavery, lied, and told their dad that the boy died. Now he's seen the brothers, tested them, humble. He gave them something. They could have stole it. Hey, we got to bring this back. Time change, right? You do something bad. Think of the flip side. You do something bad. You don't see the person, right? Sometimes somebody killed somebody 20 years ago. They just walk into a random precinct and say, hey, I got a confession. I killed somebody. They say, well, but no one knew. Why would you confess? Because it just been eating at their heart for 20 something years, 30 something years, right? Imagine Reuben, the oldest, right? We talked about this 2 weeks ago. Imagine that weighing on you year after year after year. You may start changing your ways, right? We used to be this kind of family, brothers doing these bad things, but now we all feel bad. We can't speak on it, but we are going to change our ways to the point where when Joseph seen them next, they said, we got to give this stuff back. All because of one boy in one scenario. Dev?
Chapter 37, and yeah, you just mentioned that his first win, and you can see where he went, and that wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
That was God's plan.
Mm-hmm.
His brother did not understand what that means, and it says, and they will serve him.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely the people who do not understand in this day. I was from the gate where we park. The gentleman named Charles. I've been always inviting him, and he said to me today clearly, do you guys pay my bill, my rent, that I able to come Sunday at the church? Well, your question is very fair, definitely. But your heart, I see your heart is way far from your God. We are all seeking God, that God loves us, and we realize, yes, definitely. Church will not pay your bill, but definitely God will bless you. And God will put you Monday to Friday to work, and Sunday you will be able to come to worship Him. That's the way. I was same situation like you. I work weekdays, weekend, because I had nothing to do. So still, I wasn't able to pay my bill within working one day, Sunday. So I pray my God, if you will, I will come to you. I want to worship you. So He put me this way. He gave me job Monday to Friday, so I be able to take care of my bill, take care of my family. If you're willing, so you should be able to come Sunday, worship your God. And he said, so all means definitely they should understand. Not only him, I've been talking so many people at my work or any other friend. They all busy and weekend and Sunday or Saturday because they have so many things to do. Yes, we are same like you, but still we seeking God, and that's why God put us that position. Just like a 12 brother, and one of being rich and put, and 11 was worshiping him. That's the very great example.
Mhm.
I like that.
Not even the oldest brother. Remember, he's not the oldest, wasn't the strongest, wasn't the one everyone chased after. And now they got a, hey, Joseph, could we have some, well, speak up. Green, we need, oh, you need something from me? Remember, you put me in that pit. Maybe Joseph said 20 days after, now the happiness wore off. Now I remember that pit. You put me in that place. No, you can't have any green. Bow down to me. Could have been that way. Joseph could have said, hey, wake up. I remember that pit. Get on the floor. The Egyptian would have been like, well, get on the floor. But he wasn't that way, right? The dream. What about the dream? People make excuses all the time. That's the good thing I love about America, because I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have working papers, because I know some people with more money than me, they don't have any papers. I say, how you have a bank account? How you have a license? I don't know how they have those things, but they have. You know why? Because this country you can go get. Now, if you stay on this thing you sitting on and you never move this, you never move this, and you never exercise this, and Lord knows if you never do this, then yes, you will have nothing. But this man, if he started from Trumbull Mall and walked down Main Street at the time that we're doing Bible study and worship service, he would find a Monday through Friday job. Nobody said he got to work out there at that booth on today. Who said that? This is America. He could quit that place today and have a new job tomorrow. He could. But if he used that, one second, sister, if he used that as an excuse, because I've heard Christians say, oh, I'm in debt, so I need to spend the next couple of years getting on debt, so I got to work Sunday. That reminds me of Jesus saying that you were building up all of this storm. And what did Jesus call that person? You fool. Your life is demanded of you today. Who of you can make one hair on your head change a color, grow, not grow? You think that you're doing those things, but the Bible says that God is the source of wealth. And in this country, every single person, even if you are disabled mentally, can get some sort. I go to Walmart, the people greeting me are disabled. I talk to them, I'm nice to them. How do they have? This guy not disabled. But when you use those things as excuses, like Devlau said, it's all about this. If you have a desire to do something, you're going to do it. But if you have no desire, you're not going to do it. All his life, people asking him something spiritual, he give that weak answer. But Devlau said, oh, I used to give that answer. Now he thinking, oh, this weird thing. I can't give a weak answer anymore because he know I'm lying. He know that I really just saying whatever I'm saying. Yes. But people feed that to one another until someone challenges them. Challenge you the way you think. Hey, why you think that way? Don't you know that the blessings and this, just a couple minutes, that's a whole sermon. He's not going to go read his Bible. He's not going to go listen to a sermon. He's going to think, this guy don't even know me. And he was speaking to this inside. He penetrated the nonsense that we give to one another as human beings, and he got to the core of it. And that's the point that we're talking about. Sister, go ahead.
I also spoke to Charlie, and because he came to me about Devlin. But he was upset because of how Devlin approached him. And I tried to kind of balance the situation. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't believe in God, period. And what we have to do, if we're trying to get him to come, we have to be kind of subtle and gentle with how we approach the situation. He only works Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. So if we're talking to him about coming to church, then we have to think about his background too and where he's coming from. And I told him that maybe why I came across to him like Devlin was being harsh to him was because Devlin doesn't know a lot of English. So, there was a little situation there.
The thing is that we need to understand, because we as Christians feed that also to ourselves. That's why I want to hone in on that. I know some people that some of us interact with that don't come here, that they feed you that. At your table, they tell you that. Then you come back to us and you tell us, oh, so-and-so don't come because they have to work. The mindset is this. It's better to be homeless and get into heaven than to work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and go to hell. That's the truth. Now, the approach of how... I understand the approach of how we deliver that is there. But if all of us, because we don't believe that, because our family and our friends and our loved ones feed us things that we accept. And when you accept something and you bring it to the group and the group doesn't accept, then it's a disconnect. As a church, we all have to understand what worship service is the number one most important thing, even for us, because some people wasn't here last week. Here, us, a Christian. Some people didn't partake of this last week. Why? Oh, because of this, because of excuses, right? Even we all have to admit that anything that we're doing contrary to God's will is only an excuse. Now, I agree. The approach, you always have to find some approach, but the awareness of truth is always going to offend people, no matter how you say it, right? The awareness is going to offend people because John said, when the light starts shining in the darkness, what happened? Did people say, oh, thanks, it was dark in here? No, they didn't comprehend it, right? Because it's contrary to how they live and who they are. So the approach, yes, but his excuse is still an excuse, because I can take him with the skills he have and the resume he has. Me, I've told people in this church, they don't believe me. They never did what I said. So that's why they're still in the same financial situation. But if you walk from Main Street, Trumbull, down to Seaside Park, and apply to every business on both sides of the street without no papers, no education, no degree, by the time you get to Seaside Park, you will be thanking the Almighty God. But you're not going to do that. You're going to say, I have this, or I can't do this and this. Sound like Moses. I can't speak. I can't blah, 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 blah. And there's still a God in heaven that made all that you see and can't see, saying, I don't know why you're living like that. I don't know why you think that I won't bless you. But if you don't ask, you'll never receive. That's a point that even us in this room have to get, because I see this disconnect on some of you. Remember, I know everybody in here. Some of y'all don't believe that. Some of y'all are shackled physically, even financially, because you think that's God's will in your life. But what are you doing? Because I used to be that way. Then I had this, what am I doing? I have to admit, every Sunday I put a prayer request in, but I never applied to one job. So I want a job to fall out of heaven like manna. I want to wake up and my phone ringing off the hook. Hey. You got to do something. Where is your desire? If your desire is to do something, you can do it. Jesus said, if you have faith, you tell this mountain, hey, I need you to go from Asia to North America. It'll do it. But you don't think it can move. That's the disconnect. So yes, approach is vitally important, right? Bible studies and all those sort of things are the turning points of how people get to Sunday. But when people feed you excuses at work, outside, your family, or even to yourself, always shine the truth on an excuse, because people are going to go to the gates of hell making an excuse their law. People lie to themselves every day. Candidates argue about this all the time, election time, about jobs. There's plenty of jobs in America. There's jobs that you don't want, but hotels have plenty of jobs for cleaning toilets. You don't want to clean toilets. McDonald's always hiring. You don't want to work at. So those are preferences. Preferences. I've had people that need a ride. I say, oh, so-and-so live next. I don't want to ride with them. Oh, if I needed a ride, I don't know if I would be able to say who I will want to ride with or not, because I don't have a ride. But I have people that have told me that. I have people that needed food that have come to our house. They said, I don't eat that. So hold on, because I hope you don't think my mom's going to go make something else, because over here, we good money here. All of us in this house could leave this house in separate directions and eat and come back. So you have to eat that, or you don't eat. They say that's harsh. No, how is that harsh? Your blessing is on your table. Oh, that's harsh because I said I don't eat that. Will it kill you? Will the peanuts kill you? No, I just don't like it. I have cousins come over and tell my mom, hey, whoa, is onions in that? Because I don't eat onions. I'm sorry, what? Are onions in that spaghetti? Because I don't eat onions. Really? That's rude to me. People say, oh, my response is harsh. No, it's not. You're being rude. You can get up out of your position, walk back outside, however you came here, and go back to wherever you came from. But here we eating onions.
What I find too in studying with people over the years, if you get them to the point where they accept Christ, then that Sunday is no more for them, because they realize now that the Sunday doesn't mean anything in comparison.
Right.
God.
And that's the work, though. That takes work.
Right. So that's basically saying that sometimes some people are harder to convince, but if we can bring them to that point where they see the need for God, then that Sunday becomes non-existent.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The problem is, who is going to help them? Who's going to bring them to that point? We all passed Charlie. Who is going to help him? See, that's the laborers are few. If someone took time with Charlie every single day in the way that works with him, maybe it's a Bible study, maybe it's a phone call, whatever. Let's say we found out, hey, Charlie, it needs to be this way. Who will do it that way? That's the question. That's why when we're in Bible study, we got to let it pierce our heart and say, even I could be doing more, because then it changes. And then someone like this discussion will pop up and say, oh, I know that person. This is how we do it. But when we feel, this is the beginning of the study, when we feel we're all doing the best we can, there's nothing more we can do for the cause of Christ, and we're just living our life, we become complacent. And that's the danger. But when we look at ourselves as always seeing an opportunity to further God's kingdom, it changes our perspective, and we start looking at people. Every person can't minister to every person. That's why the Bible says, as much as is in with you, live peaceable among all men, because some people's personalities are going to clash. That's just fact, right? If you're a dominant personality and you're a passive, you might not be able to have a Bible study together, right? Paul, Barnabas, and John Mark. But the discussion of John Mark allowed Barnabas to take him, right? If there was no discussion, there would have been no further action of Bible study and things like that. So that's true, 100%. Some people you can invite to church, they'll come, worship service, good. Some people don't like church. You got to have Bible study. Some people will come to your house. They don't want you at their house. Some people don't want to go to your house. You got to go to their house. This is facts, right? Paul said, I become all things to all men that I might win some. I have to figure out the best way approach. It's business and advertising. That's what evangelism is. It's advertising God. I got to figure out the best approach to advertise to this person, that person, this person, and this culture and that culture. That's why the Bible don't get into specifics that man makes on certain things, because God knew what Bible got to reach all cultures. I can't start talking about got to wear a shirt and tie, got to have your dress for women's 4 inches below knee. Man make those laws. Only can wear certain colors, because God say in the other countries, we don't have time to worry about that. Teach them to change this. Don't worry about this. Too much worrying about this. You get my point? So I agree 100% with what you're saying. We have to figure out the best approach, but how we live individually is how we even unlock our eyes to see these opportunities, right? Because when we feel it's not that big of a deal, that's how we don't progress ourselves into evangelistic modes or changing the way even that we live. So that's the point. Okay, thank you. Everyone had a lot of great discussions. We're well over time here. So let's end in a word of prayer, and then we'll transition into worship service. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful and blessed day. Thank you for giving us this opportunity, dear God, to study a portion of your word. We're thankful for Joseph and all that you have done for us through him as an example. And we're thankful, dear God, of the life that he lived. Thank you for giving us this text as an example for how we can live individually and in our families and our communities, our neighborhoods, and in our local congregations. We ask that you bless, guide our guard, and keep us. We ask, dear God, that we continue to have a desire to seek and save the lost. And we ask you bless us with the knowledge and the wherewithal of the techniques on how to do so and how to speak and what avenues are best. And we allow us to populate our church decided functions to seek and save the lost, whether it's gospel meetings or Bible studies or things of that nature, dear God, that we can generate ideas to help this city and those that are lost. We ask that you bless those that are in transition physically to get here to the hotel. We ask that you be with them, and we ask that this worship service and moment will be presented to you in spirit and in truth, a sweet smelling aroma to your throne. And it's in Jesus' name we pray these things. Amen. Okay, thank you for everyone's comments.